Hello, Perfect Death here, bringing another Ragnarok Online mobile video. This time, I'm actually just going to do commentaries on the Thanatos Tower Legend run. I figured I should do something like that just to give a little bit of an explanation about what goes on and sort of what goes through what I do generally as the main tank for the whole run 1 to 4. So right now we're just cleaning up the mobs, and our general strategy is that we'll get someone up at the top left, and you'll want one person to jump into the fire who can, get targeted by chain. So one person here has entered in last. They entered after everybody else did. So hopefully the chain targets them. In this run, that doesn't really happen. It actually targets someone else. Fortunately, it targets one of our Divine Avengers, and we have a Freedom Vow skill that lets us move when immobilized, and that chain cage thingy is an immobilization. So here I'm just putting on a little bit of tankier gear. I have a Pisana card in my armor because the boss will do a fire element AoE thing on the floor, and so it does mostly percent HP damage, but some of that damage that's not percent HP will actually be fire element. So I run the Pisana card for that fight just because that fire hurts. And you're going to see that we're going to start out, whoever initiates the fight first, the boss will chase after, so usually that's the role for the main tank. We can see we have a warlock there who is with me. He is going to use his white barrier, which will make him immune to the fire damage, so that when he gets the fire cleared off, he'll be okay. We don't have enough spare priests in this run to have somebody faith pray him or just stick around to keep him alive, so I'll be running laps around the boss, and every now and then I'll come by and I'll give him a bit of a heal from the battle chant. So the reason for running in this case is that when Valkyrie stops on top of fire, she will build up energy. So every now and then what I'll try to do is I'll try to deliberately get her to drop a fire somewhere that's fairly safe. And if she does hit you quite a bit, it'll actually inflict a slow on me. And that slow can be countered by using command charge as well. So in this case, you can see right there I just got the slow effect. So having command charge on hand can be useful. Every now and then she'll also do a purification field just like that, and that will wipe floor effects and some of the buffs randomly from you. So it's always a bit annoying at times dealing with her when she does those random buff wipes. So for the second phase, everybody kind of stacks up on that top platform. I'll usually stay down at the bottom since I'm going to be tanking the boss. We can see some people had chains on but were able to move because of Freedom Vow. Somebody did hit the boss before she got to me, and that caused her to move up the platform. Fortunately, she didn't drop fire. And it's a bit hard to see what's going on. Eventually I turn my settings down. It's usually a good idea to get used to having your settings reduced a lot so you don't see so many effects going on. And here I was like, oh crap. I actually lagged out a bit at certain stages later on in this run. One of our main DPSs in this is another Divine Avenger who's using Earth Drive downstairs with me, and so we're both using command charge at different intervals so that we extend each other's Earth Drive autocast. So you can see there some of the DPS. Generally it's a bit tricky to get DPS going if you are a melee type in that second stage, just because you're more focused on avoiding her fire and dealing with cages. So for second stage, this one can be a bit of a random lottery at times just because of who the boss targets. So usually the safe idea is just you grab all of the mobs and you pull them all the way down to the entrance. because you don't want someone to accidentally poke the boss after this, because once you kill those, the boss appears but is not aggro, doesn't start the fight. So in this case, we just kind of go over what our general strategy could be for this. And in this one, Freedom Vow will help as well. There I've also buffed up myself because I know I'm not going to run around as much, so I will be boosting my DPS. So I used a Strength B food and an Earth element boosting consumable as well. That way I will help just clear the fight faster, since I am this hybrid build of ED and tanking. So in this fight, you generally want everybody to kind of keep together. There is a black square near the middle. I think right now everybody's just changing over cards so that they boost their DPS for the fight. But you don't really want to exit out past this section into here. You want to kind of keep in the arena near the boss, because the boss will create these links between two people, and the further you are, the more it'll damage off of your percent HP, and it'll also slow you down. So command charge clears the slow. Since there will also be these big explosion AoEs, you'll want to be able to move fast. And right here, I get rid of my, or at least I tried to get rid of my Pisana card, and I used the Asuka card just because it boosts my defense, boosts Earth Drive damage, and I don't have like a general purpose tanking card for this instance, like a Ghost Ring card. So here everybody moves in, they get into this kind of box area. That way we'll be in range to buff each other. They'll be not too far away, so that if a link happens, they don't instantly die. And then we start the fight. And you can see person got chained down there, but we used, prior to the instance fight starting, they used the Freedom Vow, so he was able to move. And there's a bunch of explosions down at the bottom, so he was able to move out of the explosion range. The normal way of clearing that would be to get a roof beam, one of these lasers there, to hit someone, but those can do a lot of damage to people, so you generally don't want to try to avoid getting hit by that anyway. So that's why even our DPS is running around, because it's percent HP damage. There's two people who got linked there. Not exactly sure what killed me. I think what had happened was this beam. That beam will actually damage people when they link together. So there's a lot of different effects that go on here. And you can see the rake came through, and the rake killed me because it just spawned right there. At least it would have spawned at the side, but the effect appeared for me near the middle when it was too late to react. So this one, you can have some really bad luck with this instance here. And these gravity bodies are really important to destroy because they will do a bunch of damage to you and pull you in, and that also can desync you, which can cause all kinds of other problems. But once you're down to 19%, then you get into this phase here, and usually the good idea is just to leave one tank alive who can do pretty good self-healing. So usually that's assigned to me. Doesn't have to be me, but in this case, we had 3 people who are still alive, and as long as we keep together, it'll be okay. Even if we get linked together, we won't just instantly die. But you also need the key shards to appear nearby so that you can actually run through this. And just keep an eye out for the beams, keep an eye out for the mobs. And you can see here we got linked right at the very end, and I died because I have less health, and also that roof laser was following behind Wisteria, and it wasn't cutting the beam, and it was hitting me because of lag and desync and all that fun and wonderful stuff. So this is a pretty solid team, so we are running through pretty fast, getting through in our first tries most of the time. to third floor. This one, there's two bosses, one in the middle, one on the outside. And he is normally ghost element, so usually people will convert at least one of them where they focus most of their DPS on, which is usually the middle one. There's also some other mechanics, like there are these Pillar of Patience, which will pop up and they'll make the boss immune to damage. There's also the Heart, which will spawn, and if you don't kill that one, it's pretty much GG. It'll heal the boss up, and it'll also killing it opens a gate so that people can go through and not die from the insta-kill thing that happens to one of the two colors every time the heart spawns. So in this case, I'm going to be fighting the outside boss. And so he spawns just near this left side orb. It's actually a bit harder to tank the outside boss in this case, and for Thanatos Tower Legend. That has to do with there's some more weird shenanigans going on the outside that are a bit hard to spot if you're not used to it. And also there are the bombs, so people get targeted by these bombs. There's at least two of them that'll pop up, and they'll target two people, and they'll do 50% of your health in damage. So if those two bomb AoEs overlap and you're caught between them, then you die instantly. So you gotta hope that the two people who got the bombs see that and they spread out. But then you also have the rings, so there'll be an outside ring, an inside ring that'll go through this middle section, and there'll be an inner ring, and those will do 50% HP damage as well. So with all the 50% HP damage going on, you can die pretty quick. And I think I just keep to my healing bonus here. And I think we're still waiting for people to get their gear swapped around. Changing cards most likely and stuff like that. So in this one, you do want to have at least a core group who are coordinated in the middle, just to make sure that you kill the Pillar of Patience off as soon as possible, because this one is largely about surviving, but you also want to reduce the amount of time you're wasting, because if you're losing DPS by not killing the Pillars of Patience fast enough, then you're not going to clear as fast. And if you don't clear as fast, it gets progressively more difficult each wave. The heart that spawns, that creates the gate, it'll have more health every time it spawns. So ideally, you want to try to get it done in as few waves as possible. So usually when we do this fight, we try to keep the two bosses sort of on close to each other, kind of on each side. That way you can kind of share some of your buffs together. So here, that's the outside ring. The middle ring is for some reason white now, and then there's the inside ring. So the middle kind of throws people off. It's white. There's one of the explosion orbs, so that hit it. The guy did 50% damage to him. The other guy went in the other direction, so they didn't overlap. And then there's this tile. So along each of the areas there would be these tiles, and those usually don't do much damage. Sometimes those hands that crash down, I'm not sure if those do more damage if you get hit by the hand directly, or if it's just weird stuff, like there's these hands that'll shoot out in the middle, and sometimes they can hit you when you're on the outside, but you can't see any markers or indication that they're hitting there. Also on this floor for lightning, there's this lightning gate, and if you cross too soon, you'll see that everybody in the whole team started taking damage. It's because at about 4 or 5 seconds before the pulse comes, if somebody crosses by that lightning gate, then it will damage the whole party by like 1/4% of their health each tick. So you don't want people to jump through the gates prematurely. You want to wait for that 5-second mark and then cross. And oh yeah, you can see that guy there. He has no color. Usually everybody gets a color unless you pick up an orb. If you die during the in-between phases, sometimes you'll lose a color, and if that's the case and you don't have an orb, then if someone revives you, you will just start taking percent damage as if you had the wrong color on the wrong tile. So there's some annoying things about this floor. Now when you're tanking the boss, just after the pulse, you can try to, as the tank, you want to be the first one to go back through. So I'm just going to, so right as this number counts down, I went in just at that 4 seconds, and you see that these pulses swarm out, and there's, I think, no, might as well just go by and count it. I'll count it for you guys. So 1, 2, 3, yeah, it's 3. So right at that third one, as the tank, jump back out, because if you're too late to go back outside of here and one of your squishy DPSs runs through the gate ahead of you, the boss is going to aggro on him and murder him, and then they're going to be freaking out like, oh my god, where's the tank? It's like, why'd you run in front of the tank? But if you're quick on it, you can jump out and start taunting the boss quickly, so that at least then your DPS isn't dead on the ground, because you only have 10 revives on this run, and if you don't have really crazy good DPS, then you're going to need those revives if you have a lot of waves. So in this case, we did it in two of the heart waves. And there I am, almost 5% of the total DPS in the group. Now on 4th floor, this one definitely is the harder of them, just because you need the most DPS out of it. With a lot of the other ones, it's mechanics, and learning the mechanics, potentially cheesing the mechanics. With 4th floor, it's you do need to know the mechanics and deal with them, but you also need really good DPS. So in this fight, you'll be generating Frenzy, and if you generate too much of it, you'll get sent down to Nightmare, or where if you hit 100% Frenzy, you will cause Thanatos here to create a big AoE pulse that will do damage and give everybody 20% Frenzy and kick them down to Nightmare if they go. In the second phase, if they go over 40% Frenzy, they get kicked down to Nightmare map. So in here, first one to get close to him, he'll start attacking. You can see these red rings that follow people. Those are the virus bombs. If somebody gets hit, that will apply that bomb to them as well. And then there's these pink AoEs. Those will do quite a bit of percent HP damage, so if multiple are stacked on top of each other, that can be an instant kill. And then there's these claws that'll come up, so you'll see a green circle, and that green circle is linked to somebody who got clawed, so you want to stand on those green circles. So you see everybody runs and stands on the guy's green circle, and eventually the claw breaks free. Then there's these little orbs. There's one just to the left over here, and if you destroy that, it'll create an aura that will reduce your frenzy. So So I'm at 25 frenzy. You can see right up here there's frenzy, and down at the bottom is my frenzy bar. I just got hit by the bomb, so I was on voice chat and let them know that I got it, so they know not to get close to the boss because I'm tanking the boss. But yeah, you can see the orb there, it just got popped, and it'll create an aura that'll heal. So right about 59% the boss will transition to the next phase, and you don't want this to happen when people are targeted by bombs. That will give, because it will wipe all your frenzy to 0. So if you get, bombs still following you around, that will apply to this next phase, and you do not want to have frenzy in this next phase, because yeah, if you get hit down to if you get up to 40%, that can potentially make the run a lot harder if it happens right away. Someone like when that outburst happened, that's not because somebody hit 100%. It's because in Nightmare there are these Nightmare Lords. They look like a Freony, which is that boss, and if one of them walks to the middle of the map, they will cause the boss to outburst. And if you have somebody go deliberately down to Nightmare and kill the Freonies, it will debuff the boss and also prevent those Freonies from getting to the middle. So it's a good idea to have one person deliberately jump down. So you kind of saw just at the edge of my screen, one of the guys ran down there. So we see quite a few people are dying because of the boss outbursts. And we're basically just, so far with Starry and I, trying to hold out until maybe some more people can come up from downstairs. And right there, I lagged out because of all of the effects and stuff like that. My character ran out of this ring. If you run out, you'll start gaining frenzy, which you don't want to do. So fortunately, the two of us are actually quite quick because we're both playing command charges so that we keep up our Earth Drive bonus. And yeah, there we went to go kill another orb so that we could reduce our frenzy, and there's just a little bit of a safe zone there. And yeah, you see I got hit by Nightmare. And it sends you down, and it'll lag a bunch because all of us are either dead or nightmared. So now we got wiped. So we gotta do it again. So in some cases you can get some really bad luck. Like if the Nightmare Lords sometimes they will spawn really early and just rush to the middle, and then you'll have an outburst way too soon. Or the guy who goes down to kill, he kills a bunch, and then before he pops and hits 100% frenzy downstairs, if he comes back upstairs in time, and a Freony spawns, and then the next person goes down but not fast enough to kill a Freony, that can also cause a outburst to happen. So there's a fair bit of stuff that can go wrong, just timing. And again, if you want to avoid it when you see the boss getting near that 59%, you can potentially hold off on your DPS just so you don't have these red rings following you, because that will give you, see, I just gained 10 frenzy. I was at 5, I'm at 15 now, just from having that virus bomb attached to me. So if you were to be hit by that at the start of the second phase, that would be really bad. There's also one other thing to be cautious about. If you have that virus bomb on you and you die from something, like let's say you got hit by those pink bomb auras, and but you had this virus bomb on you, if you get revived, that virus bomb will be stuck. So you see, right, I don't think that was the case where somebody got revived. I think that was just phase change, people moving around, and then that caused someone to get hit by the frenzy. So right now we've got a whole bunch of extra frenzy, far more than what you would like at the start of this phase. I'm at like almost 30% there, so. And right about here, I'm just like, you know what? I need my settings turned down. Because I was noticing a significant amount of lag, and that was making it hard for me to move around and dodge stuff. So and round 3. So you can see down there, that guy got linked. I went down, I freedom vowed him just in case. Sometimes like these bombs will pop up and somebody will be clawed in the spot, and they're gonna die from the bombs. But if you freedom vow them, they can run out of those pink bombs. Or if they have these virus bombs and they're clawed at the same time, if you freedom vow them, then they can move away even while clawed, so that they at least can get that bomb out of the way and doesn't hit anybody. So in this case with my hybrid build, all I'm pretty much doing is just taunt, earth drive, taunt, earth drive. If I run a fair distance away, then I'll use shield objetics, and that way I'm at least contributing to the group's overall DPS. And then I'm usually keeping an eye out for whether or not I've got command charge on me, and whether or not Wisteria has cast his command charge. Oh, and I still had a little bit of lag there. Sometimes that just happens with the emulator. But so far this is working out to be a better run. No annoying shenanigans going on so far. Now this cross, it's good to note that you don't want to just graze where those cross lines are, because the actual AoE is wider than those red beams are. So with these pink ones, you can give it a little more breathing room, but against the cross that he does, it's not accurate about where it is. So you want to give a little more room when you're avoiding it. And in general, like, I don't have to worry about having protect party on, because I do earth drive, and so all my stuff is manual. And because of that, whenever mobs spawn nearby, you just kill them anyway. And when these outbursts come out, there's a chance that you can block it with auto guard. So if you were feeling lucky, you can try your luck with auto guard, and you might block the damage from it, and that also blocks the frenzy. So and 3%, 2%. There's his outburst, but we got him. So in this phase, it should be noted that it's quite important to take it seriously. You have those hurt a lot. It's percent HP damage, and then there's these purple ones. Those slow you down. So you don't want to get slowed down too much, so that the mobs or the boss or the explosions will hit you. So I usually just run around and try to make sure people are getting healed with battle chant, and also occasionally I'll pop off command charge so that people can run away. It also negates the effect of the slow from these purple AoEs. But you don't want to just relax on this stage, because you can get your whole group wiped. So there we go. That's commentaries for the TTL run that I recorded. And there's some of the stats. Wisteria rocking the ED build, doing tons of damage. I did okay, again, about 5%. That's alright for being a hybrid focused on heal and not focused purely on DPS. Take care.